amazing adoption stories. Start a story. Adopt a shelter or rescue pet today. Your perfect pet is just a click away at theshelterpetproject.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
This is why you work so hard to pay the mortgage. Because home is more than four walls and a roof. It's that porch swing on a summer night. It's pajamas with feet and everybody over for Sunday dinner. And that old stuffed chair in the living room you just can't get rid of. This is why you work a second job. This is why you learned to fix things yourself, so you could save on repairs. Because home is your place, your memories, your family sleeping in their own beds at night. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. And now even more options are available. Call 888-995-HOPE today. That's 888-995-HOPE. Or visit makinghomeaffordable.gov.
Good night, Mama.
This is why. Brought to you by the U.S. Treasury, HUD, and the Ad Council.
It's 10:03.
KLEK LP Jonesboro, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. It's now time for Community Conversations, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place, while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
And we're back on Community Conversations for the second part of our segment today. Joining us in the studio now is Matthew Coe. He is a candidate for Circuit Judge, District 2, Division 8, Sub-District 2.2. And again, of course, this time I'm going to read the disclaimer slowly. KLEK and the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. We do not endorse, support, or oppose any candidate for office, nor was any compensation provided for this interview. This interview is provided for informational purposes only, but we do encourage you to vote. Election day is March 3rd, and early voting starts February 17th, and the last day to register to vote is February 2nd. And of course, if you have a question or comment for Matthew, you can give us a call at 870-277-1080, or leave your questions or your comments on our Facebook Live feed.
So good morning, Mr. Matthew. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing good. Thank y'all for having me, and thank y'all for providing this service to not only Jonesboro but the listening community to try to educate voters on all of the candidates for all the different offices. You know, as someone once said, and as most recently said, you know, everyone loves to vote for their state senator, loves to vote for their state representative, but no one usually knows who their circuit judge is or what they do. And so when we have multiple openings and multiple contested races that people are going to be voting on, starting in early voting. So thank you for allowing us to come on here and try to educate the voters.
Well, thank you. And just to let everyone know, you were running for circuit judge. Was it district?
Second Judicial District.
Yes.
It's Division 8.
And Sub-District 2.2.
Correct.
And so can you explain the Sub-District 2.2?
2.2 is basically there's a Sub-District 2.1.
Okay.
That the Hunt Decree back in, I believe it was the 80s, early 80s, I may have gotten that wrong, it may be 88, created a sub-district to where people who were usually not represented in seats, or in this case a circuit judge seat, would be represented, minorities, things of that nature. And so basically the sub-district 2.1, which is compared to 2.1 basically runs almost just kind of down the eastern side of Mississippi County,
okay,
in the far eastern side of Crittenden County.
Okay.
So 55 is not the boundary; it's actually east of 55.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I have a map. I think I have three or four maps somewhere.
I'm sorry.
And so, no, that's fine. I'll probably do the same thing here in about 5 minutes. So. But 2.2 is basically everything in the second judicial district that is outside of 2.1.
Okay.
So in 2.1, it's just that small section right that goes on the far east side of those two counties.
Got a couple of Facebook shout out to Cindy Corbin and Jose C. Garcia Gonzalez, actually checking in from Puerto Rico.
Oh, okay. Well, thank y'all for listening.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into a little bit about you. I'm looking at your picture, and you have 3 beautiful children.
I do.
And a lovely wife.
I do. As far as my children, if you spend an hour with them, your opinion may change a little bit. But no, they are definitely my wife is the love of my life, and my children are absolutely the center of my life, and everything we do. We do for them and with them in mind. So.
All right, and it states that you attended law school at the University of Arkansas,
Yes,
and you started your practice in 2005.
Correct.
And you've been in practice for quite some time.
15 years.
And so what side of the law have you practiced in, prosecuting or defense, or have you dabbled in a little both? I've
done both. When I first started, I went into a practice with Mr. Julian Fogelman and Joe Rogers and his son Barkley Rogers.
Okay.
So that was 4 attorneys, which outside of Jonesboro, the 2nd Judicial District is Craighead County, Greene County, Mississippi County, Clay, Poinsett, and Crittenden.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of Jonesboro and maybe the Branch Thompson Law Firm in Paragould, 4 attorneys was the biggest law firm in Northeast Arkansas, pretty much. So, but what I wanted to do when I got out is I wanted to be in the courtroom. That's where I wanted to be. It's where I felt most comfortable. I wanted to litigate cases. When I came into that law firm, I got to do that. Almost a trial by fire type of deal, to where we lived in the courtroom, and we started in the courtroom. And I was also given 1/4 of the overhead when I arrived, which I learned, the practicalities of being a small business owner at that point very quickly.
Okay.
So, but I've done. I started out in. We did criminal defense. We represented. Residents in Northeast Arkansas with in injury cases, also represented several small businesses in the community and things of that nature. And I did some criminal defense work. I represented parents in DHS cases. I represented people in custody cases, divorce cases, you name it. We did it, and I did it.
Okay.
About 8 years ago, I was offered the opportunity to be a public service as a prosecutor in Crittenden County, which I've been doing since then. And I handle 1/3 of the felony docket, which is about 400 to 500 cases per year. So right now we. At this point in time, I'm a prosecutor over in Crittenden County, but I still do have quite a substantial private practice. I think I counted up last year representing over 100 individuals in their individual cases just last year alone. So we're busy.
Yes, sir, you are.
And now we're running a campaign for circuit judge. So.
All right. Well, now talking about your experience, I want to lead into the first question.
Sure.
On your brochure, it says, in 2012, you began your public service as deputy prosecutor in the 2nd Judicial District, where you quickly focused on reducing violent crime and recidivism. We've had the discussion with previous candidates about if they are elected, what would they possibly try to do? And I know this is kind of muddy waters to say what you want to do, what you will do. But,
sure.
Because you have experience in this arena as circuit judge, why is it important? Why would it be important for you to look at cases, violent crimes, and then in reference to recidivism, we've talked about rehabilitation versus imprisonment. So,
sure.
Give us your stance on that.
Well, as you said, let me start off. The Supreme Court has rules, ethical rules that basically forbid judicial candidates from really getting into a lot of the political speak.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of why, you see sometimes media gets on to judges for making difficult decisions, and then the judge can't respond because the Supreme Court says they can't respond.
Okay.
And so in saying that, I think you have to, in my view of a circuit judge, especially on a Division 8 seat, which the Division 8 seat, most of the other divisions handle about 20 to 30% criminal cases.
Okay.
The Division 8 seat handles over 60% criminal cases, and almost 80% of those cases are a right to a jury trial. So that's criminal and civil cases.
Okay.
I think you have to, you have to use a feather when you need to, and a hammer when you have to.
Okay.
There are cases where, and I've prosecuted these cases, where someone commits a violent act, and they have committed one or more previous violent acts, and those people need to be held accountable.
Yes.
There are other cases where people are arrested for drug possession. I'm also the prosecutor in mental health court in Crittenden County. And these people are arrested for drug possession, and they're self-medicating, or they're dealing from PTSD from serving multiple tours in Iraq or Afghanistan and things of that nature. So we need to try to identify, which cases are the violent cases that need to be dealt with for community safety.
Okay.
And then we need to identify those cases in which we can try to offer these individuals help.
Okay.
People are, and this kind of gets into a blurry area, you love to offer people help, but people have to want to help.
Yes.
And a lot of times they want the help when they've reached their last straw. And so, but we have, there are multiple outlets where you can help those people with drug addictions, with mental health disorders, and things of that nature.
And I'm sure in your time of practice, you've seen individuals maybe have had clients that give you this, song and dance, and in your heart of hearts, okay, they are going to go back out and make the same mistake again. But if you're defending them, you have to defend them to the best of your ability.
Absolutely.
However, okay, look at this. We'll talk about that later. Okay, as a judge, if someone has come to your courtroom multiple times, understand they have to be held accountable. Do you have the discretion? Do judges have the discretion to still say, okay, rehabilitation would be a little bit better than imprisonment, depending on what the crime is? I know with some crimes, imprisonment, no matter what, but...
Well, yes, there's ultimately that involves a lot of moving parts.
Okay.
If it's a jury trial, which most of my experience and also what most of Division 8 deals with is jury trials. In a criminal case, for example, the prosecution or the state presents its case. It has to prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt, and the defense is defending and presenting the case on behalf of the defendant. The defendant has the constitutional right to that jury trial and constitutional right to be defended. The jury in Arkansas finds the defendant guilty or not guilty, and then you move on to the sentencing phase.
Okay. The
jury actually sentences the defendant, and sometimes I've seen, I was asked to go on to another docket by a law enforcement agency to prosecute a case where during a routine traffic stop, somebody thought it was a great idea to hang an AK-47 out and try to shoot the officer that was pulling them over on a routine traffic stop.
Uh-huh.
And that case was tried, and the jury gave that defendant, I believe it was 93 years or 91 years.
Oh.
There have been other instances where the jury tries a battery case or something of that nature and finds the defendant. And so, the sentencing decisions on jury trials are left to, or the judge does have discretion to go against the jury. But in criminal trials, it has to be 12. 12 out of 12 have to agree. Now, on a revocation, like a probation revocation or something like that, which is a lot, and we deal with those as well. Any probation revocation that comes up with a new case, I deal with as well, and it's almost 2 cases in one. As a judge, those are tried to the judge.
Okay.
And it's without a jury, and it's a different burden of proof that the state has to put on. Okay. The judge has a lot of discretion in those cases on what the punishment should be. They can withhold sentencing. They can find the defendant has been found guilty of violating their probation, and then they have the discretion to withhold sentencing for the defendant to do drug court, do mental health court, do rehabilitation, do any of those nature, do anything like that. So yes, the judge does have discretion in a lot of things, but a lot of it is calling the balls and the strikes of the jury trial and the court system. If it's tried to the judge and the judge is the one who makes the ruling and makes the ultimate decision, then they do have discretion to do any number of things. If it's left up to the jury,
keep going.
You're fine. If it's left up to the jury, then the jury usually makes that decision, and it's got to be 12 out of 12.
Okay.
So on a criminal case. So.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments?
We don't, but if you have a question for Matthew, again, you can give us a call at 870-277-1080 or leave your questions or your comments on our Facebook Live feed, and he will be happy to answer them.
All right, so we've gone into some of your experience, and we'll get back into some.
Oh, well, I probably just had one popped up.
Okay.
Mike Harris says, how would you describe your circuit court experience? Roughly how many circuit court cases have you handled?
As of my last count, we've litigated I have litigated over 2,000 circuit court cases over 15 years. That's not only in criminal cases, that's also in civil cases, that's divorce cases, custody cases, DHS cases, probate cases. Someone asked me one time, they said, well, tell me a case that you have not either, or that you have, a type of case you haven't litigated. And I'm sure it exists, but it was hard for me to think of just kind of at the spur of the moment when someone asked me, just name it right off the top of your head.
So it's still, as of now, you can't think of any case that you haven't tried?
Oh, I would assume there would be some type of very complex civil, defective product case or something that I haven't tried or haven't litigated.
Okay.
That's probably one that comes to mind, but I would need some specific examples because we've, as we said in our announcement letter, when we announced for circuit judge, anything and everything from week-long jury trials, multiple week-long jury trials, half-day bench trials, 1-hour bench trials, 30-minute hearings. We've done, from 30-minute hearings to week-long, multiple weeks, and everything in between. So that's, and when I say we, and me, and that's, and that's how I got to be a lawyer, is being in the courtroom. I was trying my first case within weeks of becoming a lawyer. Oh wow! So and I remember that case distinctively because the lawyer on the other side had a very stellar reputation and a reputation of being hard to beat, and I had a good case.
Okay.
And at that point, being 2 weeks out of law school, I knew I had a good case. I knew he had a bad case, and I just wanted to not mess it up.
Okay.
And so, but there are ways you have to know how to present your evidence, how to get over some objections and things of that nature. But we ended up with a successful outcome for our client, and ever since then, we've just been rolling on.
Okay, awesome. I want to go into the next item, safety and protection.
Okay.
As a prosecutor, you know the impact crime has on our communities, and is focused on taking violent criminals off the street. And that kind of goes back into a previous discussion, rehabilitation versus imprisonment. And I'm sure I'm sure. I'm going to just ask, as a judge, you have given someone the opportunity for rehabilitation, but you also know maybe their background, and what if they are dealing with some type of mental disorder? How could you, as a judge, what rights? I know that, again, this is tricky territory to say what
Sure.
you would do if you were, but as a judge, what's possible? What's in the realm of possibility?
Well, there are a number of probably the easiest way maybe to answer your question is let's start at the beginning of kind of what where the criminal trial started.
Well, actually, Matthew, let's hold that to
Okay.
the other side of the break so that we don't have to cut you off in the middle of your response.
fine.
We are speaking with Matthew Coe, candidate for Circuit Judge, District 2, Division 8, Sub-District 2.2. Again, if you have a question or a comment, you can give us a call, 870-277-1080, or leave your questions and your comments on our Facebook Live feed. So don't go anywhere. We will be back in about 2.5 minutes, or actually about 3 minutes. So this is KLEK 102.5 FM.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
If you register to vote but your name does not appear on the precinct voter registration list, or if you are unable to comply with identification requirements, you have a right to cast a provisional ballot after signing an affirmation that you are a registered voter in the county and are eligible to vote in that election. If your vote is challenged by a poll watcher, you have the right to cast a provisional ballot that will be set aside by the election officials in a special envelope until the Election Commission determines whether the ballot may be counted. You also have the right to be informed in writing of whether or not your ballot was counted, and if not, the reason it was not counted. Don't let your right to vote be challenged. Vote. No vote, no voice. All votes matter. KLEK is a nonprofit community radio station and has to rely on the support of listeners like you to continue to give a voice to the community. For the cost of a meal for two, just $20 a month would go a long way to ensure you will get the music and information you need. Please take a moment and fund your support to KLEK. Every donation will help us continue this radio station, giving local people a voice on the airwaves. Our goal is to get 100 new donors. Please consider donating. No donation is too small. Learn more at klekfm.org. This portion of KLEK programming can be made possible by your business. Your support will help in educating, entertaining, and empowering the community by supporting local talent, serving the community you love, and providing information on issues you care about from a different perspective. Call 870-203-9951 or visit klekfm.org to learn how we can help connect you more with the community.
KLEK thanks CJ Pepper and the staff of Life Strategies Counseling Incorporated for helping people through hard times in life such as depression, family issues, stress, abuse, and more. They offer counseling and therapy for all ages, individuals, families, and groups. They are located at 1217 Stone Street. Phone number 1-866-972-1268 or online at lscihelp.com.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
And we're back on Community Conversations with our guest, Matthew Coe, candidate for Circuit Judge, District 2, Division 8, Sub-District 2.2.
All right, so getting back into a question, I hope I can remember exactly how I said it, but it was in reference to taking violent criminals off the street, just making our streets and communities better.
Sure.
And then what power do judges have, even when you know someone's circumstances, in reference to if it's mental health related or there are some other factors.
Well, is the question more about the interrelation between the mental health factors and the crime and the violence of the crime, or the nonviolent crime?
Well, we'll start with the violent crime.
Well, the violent crime, I mean, it's my opinion that the safety of the community and the citizens is of the utmost importance. What we have done, and I can only speak from my personal experience as a prosecutor, Judge Fogelman, Judge Sean Fogelman, who has endorsed our campaign, who was a sitting judge for Division 8, the division I'm running for over 25 years. He's endorsed our campaign, but he came up with a rehabilitation order. Okay. And basically it was for defendants that were in jail, and they were in there on a litany of charges. Usually they weren't violent; they were nonviolent, and you would release those defendants on their OR, on their own recognizance, conditioned on a mental health facility, be it John 3:16, be it there are a number of mental health facilities. Enrolling that person in their program, and then that case would be continued on the defense motion, and to a future date, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months down the road, and then you would see the progress of that person, and if they completed their rehabilitation, usually those charges were dismissed, because they had done, and usually, but by the time they had completed their rehabilitation, they were in aftercare programs. They'd usually gotten a job. They were a contributing member of society at that point. And now, if under that same order, what happens as well as people get out on the OR orders, on the rehabilitation orders, and they stay at the program for 3 days, and then they disappear. And so, an arrest warrant is automatically issued for that person, and that's put into the system, and when they're found, then they're brought back to the court. Okay.
And so they face another set of...
Oh, they can. It's up to the prosecutor to file a failure to appear charge, if that's warranted, but usually they were facing the same charges as they were before, whether it was drug possession or things of that nature.
Okay, all right. The next item is firm but fair, and it says you have the experience to make tough, fair, sound, and common sense decisions and stand by them. As prosecutor for the mental health court, you also understand that proper treatment is an effective tool to rehabilitate nonviolent offenders and make them contributing members of society. So let's break this down. Okay. Fair, tough but fair, sound, and common sense decisions. Give us some insight into, maybe as a lawyer, what have been some of your recommendations along those lines, and then how will that experience translate into you if you are to win the judge's seat?
My any recommendation I'd make to particular clients, I guess, would be confidential. But as far as what does firm but fair mean, I think it kind of goes back to to the you use the feather when you need to and a hammer when you have to. You've got to be, when you talk to lawyers, in the whole second judicial district. And then as a lawyer representing citizens of Northeast Arkansas, after you try their case, they want to know, has the judge ruled, has the judge ruled, has the judge ruled. And, the judge has to make a ruling. They have to be decisive. They have to make a ruling. That ruling is usually it's always going to be unpopular with someone. If you rule in favor of one side, well, then the other side, it's unpopular to them. There are rulings that if you, when you apply the law, some people judges don't make headlines by making, great decisions. They always make headlines when when a judge makes a decision that people in the public or somebody in the public disagrees with. But a lot of times the law dictates those decisions. The decisions are made in accordance with the law, and so you have to be decisive. You have to apply the law. You have to apply the United States Constitution, the Arkansas Constitution. It cannot be outcome determinative. You can't put the cart before the horse. You can't determine what outcome you want to and then craft this interpretation of the law or the Constitution to fit the outcome you want. You have to apply the law and the Constitution to that particular person, no matter where they come from, no matter what their background is. Everybody gets treated fairly. And then you have to stand by that decision, no matter if someone is unhappy with it or not.
All right.
No, we don't have any new Facebook questions or comments.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into the mental health court, and then also tie in specialty courts.
Sure.
And again, what power do judges have in reference to sending people to the different courts? And I'm still learning. I personally haven't had any experience with a circuit judge, so I'm grateful, but at the same time, I'm still trying to learn all the terminology and the ins and outs of.
Well, there are, and there's the second judicial district it's extremely large. It's extremely diverse, not only in its land, but its people, culture, things of that nature. In Crittenden County, there is the mental health court and the drug court. There's not a drug court in Poinsett County. I believe there's a VA court, a drug court, and a mental health court in Craighead County. So depending on what county you're in, depends on how many, options you have for an alternative court. Usually the defendant has to agree to go. There is a screening process that's done, at least for the mental health court, by counselors and licensed and certified mental health counselors to see, one, whether or not these people have a mental health diagnosis. And then two, what treatment options are available for them. People would be, I've been the prosecutor for mental health court for 8 years. Usually when they come in, they are on the rock bottom, and you would be amazed at, once you give people that have suffered a lot of times undiagnosed mental health disorders and are given structure, are given treatment, and then that correlates into then they become employed. I saw a mental health court graduate the other day. It was actually at the bank parking lot. I was going to make a deposit so we could make payroll to pay our secretaries and our paralegals, and he came up to me and he just said it was the best experience of his life. It gave him the structure for the first time. It gave him the structure that he needed to he knew the structure that he needed, and he knew that he could do it. And then when he graduated, he knew what he had to continue to do. Now, will these people that complete these programs, do they have a chance of relapsing? Sure, and no one can predict the future, but we've had people come back into mental health court that have relapsed. And usually, if they've completed mental health court, they're much quicker to snap back. They know what they did to be successful. Now they've taken a step back. It's not the end of the world. They know what they need to do to get back on track, and the mental health court is there to offer them the services to do that, and the drug court and things of that nature are there to do the same. There are sanctions that the judge in those courts have the discretion to impose, whether it's community service, whether it's time at the regional punishment facilities. The regional punishment facilities have 30 and 60-day drug rehabs and things of that nature. But then what happens is the infraction is dealt with, and the people come right back into the mental health court. They come right back into the drug court. They're not kicked out. So we still try to help them and offer the services that they need to become productive citizens.
I have a question from our Facebook Live feed. Mike Harris says, why did you choose to run for Division 8 with so many seats up for election? How does it differ from the other divisions?
Division 8 is a seat that for over 25 years has handled over 60% criminal cases and almost 80%, I think it's about 77%, jury trial cases. My experience in the 15 years that I have been practicing law has been criminal jury trials and civil jury trials. And so I thought that the caseload that this division has, and these caseloads are determined years in advance, 4 years in the future. I think the current caseload calendar is being developed now by the judges that sit here now, or sit on the bench now, not anyone who's running for election. And that current caseload will be in place until, I believe, January 1st of 2024. So whoever takes over on January 1st of 2021 is looking at a high volume criminal caseload, 3 times higher than any other division in the district. Yeah. So I thought my experience in criminal court, in civil court, in criminal jury trials fit this division better, or best. It fit my experience, fit it best. And then obviously with after we announced, Judge Fogelman endorsed us for the Division 8 seat, and so I would take a leap to say that based upon his endorsement, he agrees with us. So,
all right. We are speaking with Matthew Coe, candidate for Circuit Judge, District 2, Division 8, Sub-District 2.2. And again, if you have a question or a comment, you can leave them on our Facebook Live feed, or you can give us a call at 870-277-1080. And let's check and see if we have any new comments or new shout-outs on our feed. We do not. Quabila?
Okay, so I want to ask, I think probably the answer is none, but what relationship do judges have with law enforcement? That's just the basic. I don't know. When it comes to cases, I know that you have to remain impartial so that you can make a fair decision and hear each side objectively. But are there any cases where a judge will have any interaction with law enforcement?
Well, the judges, they do have interaction with the law enforcement. Our campaign has been heavily supported by law enforcement and law enforcement agencies. In the context of a jury trial, the law enforcement are witnesses.
Okay.
But they're witnesses for the jury to determine whether or not the law enforcement officer is credible, whether or not they should be believed, and things of that nature. Now, direct contact between judges and law enforcement officers, there are search warrants that judges have to sign off on, arrest warrants that have to be signed off on. As prosecutor, the prosecutor usually has to review those warrants and approve them. Okay. And I've had I've had multiple 2, 3 a.m. phone calls and knocks on the door, and and they know where I live, and the detectives and law enforcement call me, and they're always very apologetic, and I tell them, I said, do never apologize to me. I said, I took this job, it's a public service job, and this is part of it. And so, and when they come to my office knocking at 1:30 or 2 a.m. and I sit and review everything and ask them the questions that I need to do as a prosecutor. And there are some times when I tell them, that this needs, you need to look at this further, you need to look at that further. You don't get better by your successes, you get better by your failures. So you tell them, that, this needs to be done, this needs to be done to improve the case, and they go out and do that. But if it's approved and they leave my house at 2 a.m., they're knocking on the judge's door at 2:05 a.m. Okay. So, and that again is part of the job. It's part of what the job entails. So, as a judge, someone that is a judge, if a prosecutor comes to you or law enforcement comes to you with a warrant, do judges have the right to say, okay, no, I don't agree with this, how it is, and absolutely, you need to go back again? Absolutely. There's a certain burden of proof that they have to show to issue arrest warrants and search warrants and things of that nature, and the judge has absolute discretion to either approve it or deny it based upon the circumstances. And I'm trying to think of the last arrest warrant. Usually the arrest warrants are a packet. It's the report, and then what the officers are trying to search, and what could be found there, why it could be found there, what's the reasonable suspicion that needs to be searched. So the judge always has discretion to determine, yes, we're going to issue the arrest warrant or issue the search warrant, or no. We talked about this with every single candidate. So, we talk about how TV, whether it is those supposedly real life shows or, of course, the drama shows, they kind of taint. The trial in 30 minute shows? Is that what you're talking about? The client comes in 10 minutes, and then if the show is at 8, then the client comes in at 8:10, and then at 8:45 they're in the courtroom. Jury is seated and they're hearing the case. They've already done opening arguments and they've already gone through all the proof. Yeah.
Got Facebook shout out to Shanquetta Cunningham. Appreciate you checking in on our Facebook live feed.
Yeah, TV pretty much taints, what really happens in a courtroom.
Especially the modern shows. That's kind of more about the theatrics of the judge.
And that's part of my, and again, in my experience, and why I feel that my experience matches this seat, and why, Judge Fogelman has endorsed us being in this seat for over 25 years. I have jury trial litigation, and part of that jury trial litigation is you have to pick a jury. And not only does the one side pick the jury, the other side picks the jury too. You both have strikes. But part of it's called voir dire, which is basically when you get up and ask the jurors questions, and you'll have 18 people sitting there, and you're trying to seat 12 plus 2 alternates. But one of my questions is, who watches CSI? And everybody raises their hand. Does everyone know that this is not going to be over in an hour? And everybody raises their hand. Does everyone know that I'm not going to have 8 computer screens? This is not going to be like Mission Impossible, where we're moving all the screens around, and we may have a projector, and that's about as high tech it's going to get. We're going to have pictures and physical evidence.
But if you think about it, of course we haven't had something like this in the past decade or so. But I think if people remember watching the OJ trial, I think they kind of got more of a sense of how a real trial goes because it was so long.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
So I think, if there was something, we're not wanting any big famous celebrity trials. We got enough going on as it is. But if you had something like this going on, I think it would expose a new audience to what actually goes on in a true courtroom. And with that, we're going to get ready to go into our final break. We're speaking with Matthew Coe, candidate for Circuit Judge District 2, Division 8, Sub-District 2.2. So we're going to take another quick break. Don't go anywhere. This is Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
What are my rules for successful living? What are yours? This is Focus on Women. I'm Celeste. Many years ago, I wrote what I call Rules for Successful Living. Although they are not the only guidelines I live by, they do serve as a good base for me. Perhaps you'll find value in hearing them and are motivated to write down your own. Then commit to living by them. Repeating them aloud daily helps. Here's mine. I will be grateful to and praise God each day I wake up. I will always look for the best in everything and everyone. I will encourage others and myself to always do and be our best and release the rest. I will always seek to optimize my health physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and financially. I will forgive quickly and release anything unhealthy from my body, mind, and spirit. I will accept people as they are, only encouraging them to change upon their request and with their permission. I will do all I can to understand and express the love God has commanded us to give. I will make efforts to improve as a person every day. I will give what I want with no expectation of receiving back directly from the source I give to. I will expect ultimate success in all that I do and act accordingly. I will never forget what others have done for me and pass it on. I will be fair and true to others and myself. Integrity and honesty are my best friends. For Focus on Women, I'm Celeste Johnson.
Focus on Women is made possible by the Kappa Nu Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, a non-profit organization committed to service to all mankind. Kappa Nu Omega Alpha Kappa Alpha on Facebook and KNOMEGA1908.com.
Did you know that KLEK 102.5 FM is a non-profit organization? Did you know that you can donate to KLEK 102.5 FM and your donation is tax deductible? Donations to non-profit organizations such as KLEK can reduce the amount of taxes you may owe the IRS or increase the amount of any potential tax refund. Support your KLEK today. You can donate by calling 870-277-1080, visiting our studio at 1411 Franklin Street in Jonesboro, or on our website www.klekfm.org. We at KLEK 102.5 FM are blessed and grateful for your support. KLEK 102.5 FM salutes small businesses. Small businesses promote local character and success, keeping money in the local economy, local jobs, entrepreneurship, community well-being, and so much more. Contact us today to learn more on how your small business could be featured on KLEK for as little as $25 per month.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
And we're back on Community Conversations with our guest, Matthew Coe, candidate for Circuit Judge District 2, Division 8, Sub-District 2.2.
All right, so we answered the question previously before the break?
No, actually we didn't. You was about to ask it, and I said let's catch it on the other side. So go ahead and re-ask the question, and then we'll give Matthew's response.
Well, okay, that was me. I'm sorry. Well, I apologize. I didn't write that down. So we're gonna maybe to come back to me, but I just want to give this opportunity to share any final thoughts concerning your campaign and why you're choosing to run for the circuit judge position, and then what are some other items you?
Any fundraisers, events coming up?
I believe we have events. I couldn't tell you how many events we have scheduled where I have to be at one place at 6:30 and the next place at 6:45, and it's 15 minutes down the road. We did a lot of our fundraising and things of that nature prior to the filing deadline. At this point, I don't have any fundraisers that are on the agenda as far as places that we are scheduled to be. I know that the Americans for Prosperity is having a deal for the judicial candidates sometime next week. There are a number of local organizations that have invited judicial candidates to come speak over the next coming weeks, and I think we're going to try to make all those. As far as closing, I believe with this, the Division 8 seat and what it handles, it's a high-volume criminal seat, high-volume jury trial seat. I think that experience in criminal cases and experience with jury trials matters. Judicial mishaps, wrong rulings, if they're appealed, they could lead to mistrials, or reversals, mistrials. You have to redo the trials. Sometimes, criminals are put back on the streets after they're convicted by juries, and we think experience matters. We're the only candidate for Division 8 that was put on the ballot by the nomination of the registered voters. We didn't have to pay a $7,000 filing fee to be on the ballot. We were put on there by the nomination.
Let's talk about that just for a moment, because explain how that works, because it's actually something new to me. I was assuming that, like with other races, you go down to the Secretary of State, you file, you pay your fee. So explain how that works when you're nominated.
Well, there's two ways you can get on the ballot. One is by paying, and I say it's an almost $7,000 filing fee. I want to say it's $6,800. It's more than people want to write a check for, and most people haven't, just on hand. Mm-hmm. The other way is to be nominated via petition from the registered voter, and basically the petition says that I hereby nominate Matthew Coe as a candidate for Circuit Judge, 2nd Judicial District, Division 8.
And how many signatures do you have to have for that?
You have to have 2,000. I believe we had over 2,800.
Okay, so obviously that shows that there is support for your candidacy.
I believe so, yes, sir. I think just the fact that we didn't have to pay the filing fee, that we were nominated by the registered voters to fill this Division 8 seat, we feel that we have support for this unique seat based on my experience, and then Judge Fogelman's endorsement of us, of my campaign as well, to fulfill Division 8, which he presided over for 25 years. Obviously adds to that support, and so we're confident that we have a lot of support throughout all 6 counties, and those signatures and those nominations came from every county in the district. They weren't just from Craighead, Crittenden, Greene. They were from everywhere. So,
all right, we got a Facebook shout out to Yesenia Noemi Hernandez Lovo. Appreciate you for checking in on our Facebook live feed.
All right, and so any final thoughts? Any shout outs you would like to give? Any thank yous?
Well, I mean, I would not be here obviously without my wife Robin. She's a speech pathologist at the Marion School District. She works with children with speech problems and special needs children as well in the school district. She has been 100% supportive from day one, which day one I think was in April, so we've been at this a long time. Wow. My children, Rachel 10, Mason 7, my youngest daughter Wesley, she's 3, she'll be 4 in February. They have been with us every step of the way. They have been in every parade from Marion and West Memphis to Corning and Rector and Jonesboro and Paragould and everywhere in between. Blytheville, Osceola, parade shirts, throwing candy, Christmas. Labor Day, July 4th. They've been in the back of trucks, walking, running. They've had fun, but this has been a family affair. And when we started it, I went to her and asked her, and this is something we all agreed on, and we've all participated in. So I would definitely not only give a shout out, but give my love to them, and I would ask everyone for your support and your vote on Election Day and in early voting. For us, for Division 8, you can find us on Facebook at Coe for Judge, and also on the internet, coeforjudge.com.
All right.
So definitely check out those websites if you would like more information. Of course, you can reach out to Matthew on his Facebook page to learn more about his candidacy. And we encourage that you do that, not just for him, but for all of the candidates running for all of the races, so that you can be an informed voter, so that you can step into the voting booth and make the choice that you feel is best for you. Of course, Election Day is March 3rd. Early voting starts February 17th. Last day to register to vote is February 2nd. And of course, on Election Day, you can, at least in Craighead County, vote at any polling place. So you can just go to the one that's closer to you. You don't have to necessarily go to the one that you are normally assigned to. So it just makes it a little bit easier for you to vote. So you don't have any excuse not to do it. A voteless people is a hopeless people. Matt, you look like you had a little something you wanted to add to that.
Oh no, I was just I always early vote, and
I do too.
I'm a huge fan of early. I'm always at the courthouse.
Well,
because I'm in trial or or doing court cases, and so I go down there usually during lunch and then early vote. So.
I always go to the election annex. To be honest with you, I don't even know where my normal voting place is, because I just always go to the annex on the first day.
Exactly. You can walk downstairs at our courthouse and take a right, walk down the hallway, and get set up and do your voting there, and usually done in 5 to 10 minutes, and you're done.
All right. And our final Facebook shout out to Derek Coleman. Appreciate you for checking in on our live feed. And of course, KLEK and the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. We do not endorse, support, or oppose any candidate for office, nor was any compensation provided for this interview. This interview was provided for informational and educational purposes only, but we definitely do encourage you to exercise your right to vote. All right, this is All Gospel Wednesday, and of course, Brother Cops will join us soon, so you guys be blessed and have a great day. This is KLEK 102.5 FM.
Thank you for listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.